The reason I came into politics, I saw Surrey was neglected for years and years. It never got its fair share, despite being the second largest city in the province. SkyTrain was last built in 1986. We've got funding now both for LRT and SkyTrain, whichever the city asked for. We immediately, as soon as the business case came to us, we immediately funded it. When it comes to the NDP, their answer is we'll create 500,000 homes, but they haven't said where, how, or how much, and how would you get that house. I think we have the most robust plan when it comes to climate action, where even S. Simon Fraser has given it an A, 80% grade, letter grade for it. All the other parties some are failure. The NDP is given an F, others are given a D or a B. We funded the most advanced and largest forensic lab in the country right here at Surrey Centre. Actually, crime has gone down. We've had some spat of shootings, but if you look at Surrey's crime rate from 2015 to 2021, you'll see a steady decrease of 10 to 20%. In addition to that, I want to put a medical school here, which Simon Fraser is already building and planning, and the province is supporting that. And I would like to get, as part of our 7,500 new doctors, that commitment funding from there to help Surrey get its own medical school, the first one in over 100 years in British Columbia.
Hey everyone, welcome to Darpan Dialogue. It's the home stretch, the federal election. We're in the final week here, and in no time, on September the 20th, is the big election night. And I've got with me two-term MP Randeep Sarai for Surrey Centre with the Liberal Party. Let's say a warm hello. Hi Randeep, how are you?
Hi, it's a pleasure to be on your show, and thank you for having me.
Yes, thanks for taking the time with us. So we've got a pandemic going on. So just curious why the party decided to call an election during such, uncertain times.
Sure. So one of the promises Justin Trudeau always said that he won't call an election unless 75% of Canada is vaccinated. And I think in Surrey, we're over 90% now. And in nationwide, we're above 85% on first dose and well over 76% on second dose. So that was one condition that he assured Canadians that he would not call, and he waited until that was the case. The other thing was, I think the Conservatives and the NDP were vigorously had been opposing many of the measures and tried to defeat the government at least 25 times in the last little while. And minority governments usually last about 18 years to 2 years. So we're kind of at the maximum stretch of a minority government. And I think what Canadians invited us and elected us for in 2019 was not what it turned out to be. A pandemic happened 3 months after the elections, 4 months after the elections, and the world turned upside down. So the mandate that we had was not, there's no playbook to go by. We worked hard on that. We helped Canadians. We made them feel secure. We had their backs. And now I think we needed a mandate. I think Canadians needed to know what direction they want to send a message, and what direction they want to send us, and what they want from Canada. What kind of climate plan do they want? What kind of a home affordability plan do they want? And how do they want to recover from this pandemic? So that's why the election's here.
And why should people re-elect you within this riding?
Sure. I think the reason people should re-elect me is to see the work that we've already done, to see how we were during COVID. And unlike other countries where they started with the top, we started right at the bottom. So those 3 million that got unemployed were supported right away. Then 3 million were about to get unemployed. We gave them wage subsidies so the employers could continue having them work in their fields. And we supported small businesses with inventory loans, $40,000 to $60,000. We supported them with rent subsidies so the mom and pop hair salons and franchise owners could still survive and keep their restaurants open. So going forward, we already have brought over 2.7 million, 90% of the 3 million jobs lost, back on track. We have 300,000 more to go. We'd like to create another million jobs, and we would like to lift more people out of poverty. We lifted at 1.3 million out of poverty. So if we're given opportunity, I think when it comes to our safety nets, they'll be kept together. We won't weaken our healthcare system at all. We'll strengthen our healthcare system, and we're the only party with a real plan on climate action, and we're the only party with a clear fiscal plan to grow the economy. Even that, just a recent report came out, and we were given an A grade as the best plan for fiscal responsibility. So I think if you want Surrey not to be neglected, I ask you to vote for Randeep Sarai in Surrey Centre.
Great. I know you've touched on some of the most important topics, and one thing that we did keep hearing is the opioid crisis. What are you hoping to do for that?
Sure. So we've got $116 million lined up for opioids and mental health, and that's part of my own personal platform, is to make sure Surrey gets its fair share of that. So we have recovery places here. We have the funding. We already have in the past opened up safe consumption sites with the Conservative government had shut down. We have given $700 million more for mental health for the province in our health accord. We're planning to do more going forward, and I just want to make sure that they're accessible to Surrey residents in the language and cultural format that is appropriate to the demographics of Surrey.
Housing affordability and climate change, the two big ticket items. We've also seen, a spate of shootings in terms of the gang violence. We've seen more of it. And I know that in 2019, during your campaign trail, you heard a lot of people bring that to you. They had concerns regarding affordability, and they also had, concerns with the crime, with what's going on in our city. So what do you hope to do with that, and what do you have to say to that?
So as to affordability, I think we created a national housing strategy. That was the first thing we did, to study this from coast to coast to coast, from experts from affordable rental housing to homelessness to second homes, first-time home buyers to your end-of-life care to senior care, the whole gambit of home ownership. We looked at all of it and home situations. From that came the $70 billion in funding for different streams over 10 years. One of them was the Affordable Rental Construction Financing Initiative, which thousands of units have now in Surrey and Lower Mainland started. BC's gotten $3 billion of the $25 billion stake right off the get-go. So lots of units being built in that. The second was to get first-time home buyers. There's a first-time home buyer program where 10% of the down payment would be given by the federal government. That was increased for Lower Mainland and Victoria and Toronto to $750,000. That's a great program. Needs some tweaking on it. What we've done this time, we've committed to, is to bring RSP type of tax-free saving account. So you can save up to $40,000 for your down payment, tax-free. So you save about $15,000 on that. You get double the tax break. So normally you get about $5,000 off on your first-time home buyer. In this case, you'll get $10,000. So that collectively is almost $25,000 in savings towards your first home. In addition, we're making it prohibitive to flip a house until 12 months as their principal residence. In addition, we're also doing a rent-to-own program, so people can get into a place, rent it out for the time being. A certain percentage goes towards your down payment. The government will help and support that, and then eventually you'll own your own home. The third thing we're doing is supply has been the biggest issue. Right. So we're setting aside $4 billion where the cities can tap into if they decrease their building permit times, decrease their development permit times, and increase supply. If they do that, we'll give them the resources to hire more plan checkers, to hire more development officers, and therefore if we have more supply, at least the price gains won't happen as rapidly, which are resulting from a shortage of supply. So those are some of our concrete measures, whereas if you compare them to the Conservatives, they have no, at least in my view, concrete measure. Theirs is we'll change the mortgage term to encourage 7 and 10-year mortgages. They already happen. Their other answer was to take 15% of the federal lands and use them for housing. Well, I can tell you in Surrey and in Lower Mainland, there is no excess land. In fact, the city of Surrey's land only is farmland. So therefore, it's a hollow promise. It's not going to actually create any tangible housing. When it comes to the NDP, their answer is we'll create 500,000 homes, but they haven't said where, how, or how much, and how would you get that house. So I think we have a realistic plan. When it comes to climate action, we have probably the most comprehensive plan of all four parties, including the Green Party, where even S. Simon Fraser has given it an A, 80% grade, letter grade for it. All the other parties some are failure. The NDP is given an F, others are given a D or a B. So I think we have the most robust plan when it comes to climate action. When it comes to safety, gun safety, we've done the most in gun legislation. We've made straw purchases prohibitive, so you have to keep records. We've banned assault rifles. We've given cities the ability to ban handguns, so any city that feels it's a problem, and now we'll even financially support them. We've hired we've spent $85 million to hire all the CBSA officers and organized crime units of the RCMP that were shut down by the previous Conservative government. So we've rebuilt that capacity, so there's more border security checks, there's more organized crime officers nationally to look at these. And at the same time, we've helped on prevention and intervention. We put $250 million, $500,000 in addition to that to the RAP program. So $8 million just came to Surrey, and it's in the hands of those that serve it. So the City of Surrey on the ground, they picked the 10 organizations that were designed to help 4,500 young people and their families. 2,300 already have been served, so they're on track halfway through their 4,500, halfway through their 5-year contract. And I'm going to assure them that in the next, we've already given additional funding in our budget, that they'll get the same type of funding going forward. So these are the type of stuff we'll do. Whatever the city asks. We've also put a forensic lab. British Columbia didn't have a state-of-the-art forensic lab. It was very old and archaic. Most of the stuff had to be sent to Ottawa or Toronto. So we've funded the most advanced and largest forensic lab in the country right here at Surrey Centre. So we'll continue to do those type of things that'll help bring crime. And actually crime has gone down. We've had some spat of shootings, but if you look at Surrey's crime rate from 2015 to 2021, you'll see a steady decrease of 10 to 20%, but we're not done yet. We've got to do more, and we got to make sure our young people don't get into that line.
Right. With that said, you've been with Surrey Centre with this riding for quite some time now. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that you're proud of and some of your accomplishments.
Sure, I'm very proud of, the reason I came into politics, I saw Surrey was neglected for years and years. It never got its fair share. Despite being the second largest city in the province, it didn't get its fair share of infrastructure dollars. SkyTrain was last built in 1986. We've got funding now both for LRT and SkyTrain, whichever the city asked for. We immediately, as soon as the business case came to us, we immediately funded it. So SkyTrain will now get a $1.3 billion federal funding to go all the way to Langley. So that's going to help Surrey residents. We weren't getting any post-secondary increase, even though post-secondary is the responsibility of the provinces. But as a federal government, we've built a fund to help infrastructure for post-secondary. So we got for Simon Fraser a sustainable energy and environmental engineering campus. So now 450 engineers graduate from this university with degrees in the most high demand fields out there. The third thing of our veterans, Surrey is an E-Division headquarters, so we have a large RCMP division here. We have a lot of military veterans in here. We have a lot of correctional officers that retire here or have disability benefits. These three come under veterans, and they would have to go to downtown Vancouver, or other 9 locations were closed down across the country. We reopened 9 VAC centers, and Surrey was able to get the only new Veterans Affairs Center right here in Surrey. The third thing is to get a forensic lab. I mentioned 60 million state-of-the-art. The other thing was to get Surrey as a home to small business and medium-sized businesses, one of the most entrepreneurial cities in the country. If you want to apply to Western Diversification, which is a fund that helps businesses grow, you're headquartered in Edmonton. The funding was inadequate for British Columbia. Their perspective was very different from the prairies to British Columbia. We were able to get our own regional development agency, and it'll be the first federal agency to ever be headquartered in Surrey, and only the second federal agency to ever be headquartered in British Columbia. So I'm proud to say that we got that headquartered right here in Surrey Centre. It's going to have over $550 million budget, so it's a very large agency to be headquartered right here, and they'll provide jobs. And my goal is to make Surrey Centre a hub for federal government services. So we've already had the first kind of summit on that with 3 levels of government and institutions. Going forward, our goal is in 2022 to have that work resume again after COVID, and make Surrey Centre a government services hub where not only we get our services here, but we also have the employment right here in Surrey.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time with us.
You're welcome. Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Like, share, and subscribe.